Hey, how's it going? Today I'm going to be talking about the state of Christian YouTube. And what I mean by that is kind of the Christian sphere on YouTube, the content, the creators, stuff kind of happens within the Christian community on YouTube. And I know YouTube is kind of, I guess, cracking down more on the Christian stuff, which I don't really feel is right, obviously. But I'm not going to be talking about, the whole YouTube side of things, them kind of striking channels and demonetizing channels and, kind of making it so it seems they're trying to kind of get us off the platform. I'm not going to be talking about that. What I am going to be talking about, though, is how the Christian community on YouTube presents itself and kind of why I disagree with the way things are going and how things are being kind of run in the Christian community. Now, within the Christian community, I think there are tons of great YouTubers doing God's work. They're fantastic. And on the other hand, there's a few points I'd like to kind of point out. And I guess some of those points would be, I guess the first one is criticism and how that's kind of becoming sport is how I've heard someone kind of put it. And yeah, it's just become sport to call out any Christian who's in sin. And I mean, yeah, we shouldn't be in sin, but I mean, we're all sinners. We all have sinned, you know. But I just think it's becoming sport now to look for the one wrong thing within the whole thing. And you see it with plenty of people, like, the Chosen calling out every misstep they have, because it almost seems like everything should be perfect, but we have to remember we're not perfect. Not everything is going to be perfect. So I think we need to allow a little grace sometimes. And it's not just with the Chosen, it's calling out, like, I get trying to call out mega church pastors, but at some point it comes too much because that's all you're kind of doing. And I think you need to, like I said, allow a little more grace to these folks, as well as, and you probably are doing this. And I don't think, and if you are, this is great. You don't need to publicize this. But I think we also need to be praying for these folks, not just calling them out, but praying for them. And I do really think you need to extend grace to these people. Yes, they're not, and I'm not specifically talking about megachurch pastors. I'm just saying anyone in the Christian music industry or on Christian YouTube or just wherever, extending some grace and knowing that we all do make mistakes. If they're living in a sin and they're not really sure about it, or they don't really know that they're living in sin, yes, I think, kind of call them out. I don't know if it needs to be on a grandiose scale like we see on YouTube, but I know that has its time and place, and those people should be called out, I think, to an extent, but I don't think you need to do it repeatedly. I think, in the words of St. Padre Pio, for these people, you need to pray, hope, and don't worry. You need to pray for these folks. You need to hope that they will one day change, that God can work in and through them to change them, and you need not worry about it. And I think that's the mindset we kind of need to go into this with. And I think there's more stuff on YouTube as well that I think needs to be addressed on Christian YouTube. And that just kind of is saying stuff without having the evidence or facts to back it up. And what I mean by that is, and I'm sure this is with a lot of communities on YouTube. I see it specifically with the Catholic community and Protestants continuously calling them out and saying what they believe is wrong while not having the facts to back it up. Like, I understand what you believe, you think that to be right, but I think do a little more research before calling out a certain party. And I would say, before, like, an example is, before saying Catholics think they're going to heaven by their works, maybe do a little more research. Maybe read the Catechism, read the early Church Fathers, look at Catholic apologists like Jimmy Akin, Trent Horn, Dr. Scott Hahn. Kind of look at what these people believe, what the early Church Fathers believed, what the Catechism says, and then, or even the councils, and then kind of say, okay, maybe they don't actually believe this. I don't think it helps to spread false narratives about certain communities, and I don't know if it's happening with other communities. I just see it specifically with the Catholic community and them kind of being targeted by Protestants. I don't see too many Catholics though targeting Protestants. I see them responding to them in mostly a respectful way. There may be some that aren't, but that's kind of where I see the state of YouTube, and I don't think it's necessarily headed in the right direction. And I get that a lot of people may disagree with how to go about these things and how to and even the points I've brought up, for extending grace or researching a little bit more about the party that you're making a video on. I get that you may disagree with that, but I think those are some issues that need to be addressed within the Christian community on YouTube.